Welcome to Le Weekend, your essential roundup of French news on culture, business, the economy, and current affairs. We bring you a convenient way to catch up on the stories from the past week in France, plus an additional focus feature blending reportage and cultural context. You'll find a seamless recap of the week's most important headlines without losing any content from our previous daily format, perfect for those who want to catch up in just one episode. Le Weekend is designed to keep you informed and engaged with a lighter touch at the end. Let's dive in. These are the headlines on Monday, July 27th. Tadej Pogačar won a record-equaling fifth Tour de France. The Slovenian athlete is the youngest rider to have won 5 tours and is the first to finish on the podium of the iconic bicycle race 7 years running, as reported by Le Monde. The number of people shopping at major luxury brands in the French capital dropped by 11% between January and June, as the sector's traditional base of shoppers from China, Russia, and the Gulf dwindled, as reported by Le Monde. D-Day beaches are now part of UNESCO World Heritage List. Recognition of their outstanding universal value commits authorities to work toward their preservation, as reported by Le Monde. The headlines on Tuesday, July 28th. The massive wildfire in the Gironde department near Bordeaux has been brought under control, although a new heat wave is on the way. Flames have already ravaged 42,000 hectares, with more than a dozen flare-ups that forced the precautionary evacuation of thousands of tourists, as reported by France 24. At the United Nations, the vote on human rights angered France and the United States. In an extremely rare occurrence, the American delegation walked out of the Security Council meeting in New York on Monday to protest against French criticism, as reported by HuffPost. French group Renault will face criminal trial in France over the Dieselgate emission scandal. The public prosecutor's office told French news agency AFP that the carmaker will face aggravated fraud charges over accusations that devices in its diesel cars were designed to cheat clean air laws, as reported by RFI. A 2,500-year-old Celtic treasure was stolen in yet another French museum heist. Posing as tourists, thieves stole the unique gold torque necklace in broad daylight from the Musée du Pays Châtillonnais, as reported by Le Monde. The headlines on Wednesday, July 29th. French DJ Kavinsky was found dead on Tuesday evening at his home, according to several French media outlets. Kavinsky was known for his track Night Call, which he performed with Angèle at the closing ceremony of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, as reported by France 24. The deficit in public hospitals decreased in 2025, but remains at an exceptionally high level. After the record of 2024, the deficit of public hospitals reached 2.3 billion euros last year, according to a study by the Directorate of Research, Evaluation and Statistics, as published by Le Figaro. French media group Le Figaro is demanding 16 million euros from LinkedIn. The group has sued the professional social network. The publications are seeking to compel the platform to pay neighboring rights owed to press publishers for the use of its articles, as reported by L'Informé.
The headlines on Thursday, July 30th. Economic growth in France reached 0.2% in the second quarter, driven in particular by exports and domestic demand, which is picking up again, according to figures from statistics agency ANSEE, as reported by Le Figaro. France is slowly embracing older workers, driven in part by pension reform, with the employment rate among 60 to 64-year-olds set to quadruple between 2001 and 2025 in the country. The proportion of working people in this age group has reached its highest level in half a century, as reported by Le Monde. France is set to deport pro-Russian commentator Ksenia Fedorova. The Interior Ministry claimed the former director of RT France was churning out Kremlin propaganda on French television, as reported by Le Monde. The headlines on Friday, July 31st. Europe imposed transparency rules on artificial intelligence and gave itself the means to sanction. From August 2nd, tech giants will have to comply with strict rules on transparency and enhanced oversight or face heavy penalties, as reported by Les Echos. An unprecedented drought hit central France. Only 3 of the area's 34 small streams monitored by the French Biodiversity Office are still flowing, levels that have not been seen since monitoring began in 2012, as reported by Le Monde. New evacuations were ordered on Friday after another fire broke out in the Var region in the south of France. The flames are being fanned by a strong Mistral wind, as reported by France Info. You are listening to Le Weekend. And now that you're all caught up with the news from the past week, it's time for our focus story, where we dive a little deeper into one of the stories from the past week. In this case, we look at why a daylight heist in Burgundy reopened a 2,500-year-old mystery. On the morning of July 24, a small provincial museum in Burgundy became the latest stage for what is turning into one of France's most persistent cultural nightmares. Just after 10:30 a.m., a group of thieves walked into the Musée du Pays Châtillonnais, Trésor de Vix, in Châtillon-sur-Seine. The way anyone else would, they bought tickets. They walked the galleries like ordinary tourists. Then they smashed a display case, grabbed a 2,500-year-old torque, and walked back out through the front door before anyone quite understood what had happened. Dijon prosecutor Olivier Caracoche later confirmed that the thieves smashed the display glass sheltering the Celtic-era jewelry and fled through the museum's main entrance, the same route they had used to enter. Local mayor Jérémy Brigand noted there had already been 2 attempted burglaries at the museum in the weeks before the theft, and that despite tightened security, the thieves proved organized, fast, and determined enough to succeed anyway. He called the loss priceless and a unique piece in the world, and described the theft as an attack on cultural heritage and the public interest. French police have since arrested at least 1 suspect, though, as of early reporting, authorities had not disclosed the individual's identity or alleged role. Culture Minister Catherine Pégard used the announcement of the arrest to unveil a sweeping national security plan intended to protect more than 3,000 French museums, monuments, and churches, a response that says as much about the scale of the problem as the theft itself. Far from an isolated incident, this latest heist followed the audacious October 2025 raid on the Louvre, in which thieves made off with roughly $102 million in jewels in under 8 minutes. An operation so embarrassing it forced the resignation of the museum's president and accelerated long-delayed security upgrades expected to begin in January 2027. Weeks before the Vix theft, thieves had also struck the Lalique Museum in Wingen-sur-Moder, Alsace, making off with roughly $4.57 million in jewels. Taken together, the run of thefts has exposed something uncomfortable. France's regional museums, custodians of objects that are frequently irreplaceable and sometimes unique in the world, are proving strikingly vulnerable to thieves willing to move fast in broad daylight. But why did the thieves target this single necklace? And why did it dominate national headlines and trigger a countrywide security overhaul? It helps to understand what the torque actually is and where it came from. The stolen object is a 24-carat pure gold torque, a technical word for a sort of collar, weighing just over a pound, roughly half a kilogram. According to the museum, it is Celtic in design, shaped as an arc with its two ends resting on lion paws set atop hollow spheres. Atop each paw sits a depiction of the winged horse Pegasus, a distinctly Greek motif, while a pair of pear-shaped spheres symbolizing the sun reflect Celtic iconography. In other words, the piece is a physical record of the moment when two very different worlds, the Celtic societies of Iron Age Gaul and the Greek colonies of the Mediterranean, were trading, borrowing, and blending styles some 2,500 years ago. It was, per the museum, a symbol of power, likely worn by someone of exceptional status. That someone has come to be known as the Dame de Vix, or Princess of Vix, although archaeologists are careful to note that her exact identity and role remain genuinely uncertain. The torque was never meant to be seen again. It was buried in January 1953, though not by the thieves who stole it in 2026, by history, more than 2 millennia earlier, at the foot of a modest hill called Mont la Soie, a few kilometers north of Châtillon-sur-Seine. The circumstances of its rediscovery are, by the standards of archaeology, almost cinematic. On January 5, 1953, according to a detailed reconstruction of the dig published on Academia, a local farmer named Maurice Moisson, working alongside self-taught archaeologist René Geoffroy, uncovered the gorgon-headed handle of an enormous bronze vessel jutting from the soil. What followed was, in the words of one long-form account of the dig, the opening scene at the theater of discovery of a major Celtic site. Excavating further under difficult winter conditions, Geoffroy's team found that the flattened, barely visible mound above the find concealed an undisturbed timber burial chamber roughly 9 meters square, as described in an account of the tomb structure. Inside lay the skeleton of a woman, around 35 years old, positioned on the box of a dismantled four-wheeled wagon, surrounded by an extraordinary array of grave goods. Archaeologists date the burial to roughly 470 to 460 BC, placing it at the very end of the early Iron Age in the period scholars call the Late Holstein culture. The tomb's centerpiece, and still the single most astonishing object ever recovered from a Celtic burial, is the so-called Vix crater, a colossal bronze vessel used in Greek banquets to mix wine with water. Standing at 1.64 meters tall, capable of holding around 1,100 liters, and hammered from bronze sheet just 1.2 millimeters thick, it remains, per the museum's own description, the largest known bronze vessel to survive from antiquity. It was produced around 530 BC, likely in the Greek colony of Sybaris in southern Italy, though exactly how a vessel of that scale and weight, roughly 208 kilograms, traveled hundreds of kilometers north to a hilltop in Burgundy remains, as the art press has put it, genuinely unknown. Alongside the crater and the torque, the tomb yielded a silver phial, described by the museum as the oldest silver vase found north of the Alps, along with Etruscan bronze vessels, Attic pottery, and elaborate jewelry. Together, these objects transformed the site from a curious local find into one of the defining archaeological discoveries of 20th century Europe. The tomb's contents make far more sense once set against the hill it sits beneath. Mont-la-Suze was, in the 6th century BC, a fortified hilltop settlement of considerable size, roughly 40 hectares, according to a detailed archaeological summary, that functioned as a princely residence during the late Holstein period with enclosures, post-built structures, and clear evidence of exchange with Mediterranean societies. Ongoing excavation, including geomagnetic surveys as recent as 2015, has continued to reveal large architectural complexes in the vicinity, suggesting a settlement far more sophisticated than the isolated burial mound once implied. Perhaps the site's real significance owes to its geography. Mont-la-Suze sat at a genuine crossroads of Iron Age trade, at the upper reaches of the Seine, within reach of routes carrying tin from Britain, coral from the Mediterranean, amber from the Baltic, and wine and oil from Etruscan territory. That position made the local Celtic elite wealthy middlemen in a continent-spanning exchange network, wealthy enough, evidently, to commission or acquire Greek and Etruscan luxury goods on a scale otherwise unheard of north of the Alps. The Vix treasure is a physical proof that Celtic Europe was never an isolated backwater but an active, well-connected participant in Mediterranean trade and diplomacy centuries before Julius Caesar ever crossed the Rubicon. Modern research has kept adding to the story. A 2019 reopening of the tomb, undertaken with contemporary forensic and imaging techniques, recovered nearly 2,000 additional fragments overlooked during the original 1953 excavation, including new elements of the ceremonial chariot and additional fibula. Researchers have applied drone survey, photogrammetry, DNA analysis, and 3D scanning to the remains, confirming the occupant's sex and continuing to probe her precise social role: princess, priestess, or something without a modern equivalent altogether. And so, such is the object and the woman whose golden collar vanished from a glass case this July morning in 2026. The theft lands awkwardly on a site that has spent 7 decades being celebrated as one of the great windows into pre-Roman Europe, and also lands at a moment when French museums, still reeling from the Louvre's own humiliation months earlier, are being forced to reckon with their role in the front line as custodians of heritage. Whether it resurfaces now depends less on archaeology than on quick police work. Investigators racing to trace whoever bought a ticket that morning before the torque can be melted down or quietly sold off, its priceless 25 centuries of history reduced to nothing more than its weight in gold.
Thank you for listening to Le Weekend, your one-stop destination for the main headlines in France. Catch our weekly roundup every weekend wherever you get your podcasts. Stay informed.